All right. Good morning. Today we're going to talk about scientific notation. And scientific notation is what scientists use when they're trying to write really, really, really big numbers and really, really small numbers in a way that's manageable and not overwhelming. So they use what are called powers of 10. So powers of 10 are just um, basically just an 10 to an exponent. So as a review, right? 10 to the 1 is just 10. But 10 to the 2 would be 10 times 10. 10 to the 3 would be 10 times 10 times 10. We talk about negative exponents. 10 to the negative 1 is 1 divided by 10. 10 to the negative 2 is 1 divided by 10 times 10. So when we're trying to describe really, really large numbers, we're going to use positive exponents. When we're trying to describe really, really small numbers, we're going to use negative exponents. Okay, so let's look at how this actually works. So scientific notation has a general format, and we use all these random numbers to kind of describe it because there's rules associated with each of these, but it really isn't that complicated. So the big thing is that this number right here, this n, that has to be a digit between 1 to 9. So it can't be 0, it can't be 10. And the decimal point has to go after that number. So you'll always have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 decimal point, and then you'll have the remaining numbers. Okay. These numbers right here, the b's, can be anything. Okay, so that would just be the number that you find after that. And basically, what we're doing is we're multiplying that whole number by 10 and then to a specific exponent. And I'll show you how that kind of works in a second. Okay. Um, so let's talk about how we actually convert and use this. Okay. So the first thing, if we're converting, we have a really big number, a really small number, and we want to convert to scientific notation. The first thing we need to do is determine where the decimal point is going to go. So if we look at this one down here, the decimal point is always going to go in between the first real number. Okay. So here it's 4.6. So I'm going to put my decimal point right there. Okay, in between the 4 and the 6. Then I need to determine how many times did we move the decimal point to get it from here to where I want it now. Okay, and to do that, I'm going to swoop it. Okay, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and this is how I'd write this. I would do 4. Wow, this is really thick pen. Point 0.5. And since the rest of those are zeros, you can just drop them. Then you would do times 10. And then however many loop-de-loops I did, that's going to be the exponent. So in this case, it would be 8. Okay. Can I change the thickness of this? Oh, I can. Okay, let's do this. Perfect. Okay, let's do the other one. So again, you're gonna put it in between the first real number that's not 0 and that's not a big number. So in this case, it would go in between the 7 and the 4. And then I need to determine how many times I move the decimal point to get it from there to between the 7 and the 4. So I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so my answer is 7.4. Again, you can drop those extra zeros times 10, and then because this is a really, really small number, my exponent is going to be negative. So it would be times 10 to the negative 6. Okay. So that's how you convert from or to stand or from science, oh gosh, from standard notation to scientific notation. Okay, let's try to go the other way. So now we're converting from scientific notation. So we have a number in scientific notation, and we're going to try to put it in standard notation. So the big thing here is the first thing I need to decide is that number going to be really, really big, or is that number going to be really, really small? So again, if it is a positive exponent, I know that, see if this works, that is going to be a big number, okay? So we have our 5. We're just going to write this out. 5, 3, 4. Okay. And I know that I moved my decimal point 7 places. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move them to the right because I know that this needs to become a really big number. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to put my new decimal point. And then each of these swoops that don't have a number, I'm going to put a 0 in there. Okay. And then that becomes my new number in standard notation. Okay, let's try this other one. Because this is a negative 4, I know it's going to be a really small number. So instead of moving it to the right, I'm going to move it to the left. Okay, so I'm going to go, here, we'll do it here. 6380, right? My decimal point was here. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, new decimal point. All of the wells that are not filled are going to become zeros, and my number is 0.00, whoops, that's a 0, 638. Okay. The last piece that we want to talk about is how to use our calculator to help us with scientific notation calculations. And so on your calculator, you're going to use what's called the EE button. I want you to look for this on your own. If you are using the yellow calculators with the kind of like tealish colored body, these have times 10 to the button that you're going to use instead of the double E button. If you have a double E button, that just replaces the times 10 to the. So when you plug this into your calculator, oops, what you're going to do is, oops, I'm moving all my stuff, huh? What you're going to do is you're just going to plug in, because it replaces the, here, let's do this really fast. Where's my eraser? Okay. Because it replaces the times 10 to the, it replaces all of this. So if you were to put this number in your calculator, you would type 5.02 double E to the 9. Okay. Every time that we use scientific notation in our calculator, we need to use this double E key, because if we don't, the calculator will read it wrong due to just basic like um, what is that, order of operations. And so it's really important that this basically clumps this in parentheses, and it clumps that as one number, so that if you divide by that number, that is a really big number. It's not 5.02 and then you multiply that whole function by times 10 to the ninth. So make sure whenever you're using or doing scientific notation, or you're using a big number or a really, really small number, you're using the double E key, or you're using the times 10 to the button on your calculator. If you have questions about that, make sure you ask me. There is a practice on Google Classroom. So what you're going to do is you are going to come to Google Classroom, and you are going to come to Google Classroom, and then you're going to click on Earth System Science. You're going to come down to scientific notation. There's a size and scale activity. So this you're going to go through, and there's a number. It's either in scientific notation or in standard notation. So you're going to choose that number, and then you're going to go to size and scale of Earth spheres. Okay, so this is an assignment that's up in the basket, and you're just going to go through, and if that number, so for this one, quartz crystal, that's obviously in standard. So you're going to write that in standard, and then you're going to convert it to scientific, and vice versa, depending on how the number is written. Okay, so that's your practice sheet for today. There's also a practice quiz if you want to take that. If you have any questions, let me know. The keys for those will obviously be on the board as well. All right, have a great day.